What is up, friend and fellow anti-netter? Scott Shepard coming to you here on a 10:34 a.m. on a Monday, driving to the office. Last night and all throughout the weekend, there was supposed to be a tropical storm that came through Southern California, a supposed hurricane. And, I have myself lived through, several such tropical storms and, hurricane season and all of that when I was living in the Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, back in the day when I was doing my, internet marketing, performance marketing lifestyle, sipping rum punches on the white sandy beaches of St. Thomas and, looking down at my performance advertising stats, all automated, running on an algorithm. And, really just enjoying life. And during that time, there was always hurricanes that would come through. They would say that a hurricane was coming through. But in fact, it turned out that it was just rainy tropical storm type of stuff. And no surprise, the sensationalistic, crazy mainstream news media around here, especially local news stations, blew it up around Southern California that, oh my God, the world is practically going to end and there's a hurricane. I paid zero attention, zero mind to it at all. And guess what? Once again, Sir Scott of Shepard was right. It was some slight rain, slight wind, absolutely nothing. Me and my lovely Earth Angel girlfriend basically spent the day and weekend paying no mind to it. Rode around on bikes. We also both ate shit on our bikes and fell going way too fast down a dirt hill. It was freaking awesome and hilarious. And we also tuned in and watched one of the most important shows that I think anyone can ever watch, and that is a movie called Step Brothers. And we absolutely paid no mind to the mainstream local media, and just went about our day, went about our lives. And quite frankly, I think that that's something that you should, if you haven't actually made this shift, and if you're a listener of myself, Scott Shepard, I'm guessing you don't watch a lot of local news or media and, pay attention to any of that mind junk. One of the most important things I think you can do is guard your inputs, meaning guard which information, which knowledge enters your mind. And look, nobody is perfect at this, and anyone who claims that they are is probably, a stoic monk that lives a freaking boring ass life anyway, and you don't want to follow that to a T. But to a very serious degree, you do want to guard your mind inputs. And I know a lot of people, and for instance, my parents are one of them. You walk into their house and there's no quiet morning. There's no quiet evening. You know why? Because freaking ABC News 7, local News 7, is constantly blasting, constantly telling about, some Mexican that broke into a home. No, not making this about race, by the way. It's just I'm just relaying a story that I heard the other day. Some Mexican broke into a home and beat the living crap out of a senior citizen, right? That is the news that is constantly blaring. That is the information, the knowledge that is constantly being injected into a lot of people's minds. And what I recommend you do is I recommend you basically be a proud, ostrich and put your freaking head in the sand and just stop giving a shit about anything, any news, anything, because really it doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter is what you can control. And you may be thinking, hey, what if I stop, listening or watching the news? What if something bad happens? How do I be aware of when something bad is going to happen? Here's the thing. I have not watched the news and local news or anything like that for 25 years. And I always, without question, without fail, hear anything of significance because everyone is just constantly talking about it. You'll see signs of it everywhere. You'll hear about it everywhere. You'll just trust yourself that you will hear anything of import. And 99.99% of the time, there is nothing of import out there. So, basically, the purpose and the takeaway of this little rant, which I quite frankly was not even planning on getting into this topic. And I think the reminder here is guard your inputs. Guard every single piece of knowledge, piece of news, everything that goes into your mind. And that's pretty much it. Like yesterday we sat down to turn on some, just to disengage, right? To unplug. We sat down and we turned on Netflix, and that's there's so many, there's just there's just a whole bunch of options you can choose from on Netflix, and you have to be very careful about what you choose. And so, I choose to watch stuff that is funny, that will be very uplifting, like Step Brothers, for instance. And then we've been watching this one show. We just discovered it this weekend. It's really cute and actually very funny and just very wholesome. And it's a show called Down for Love, and it's about Down syndrome people that fall in love. And it's a fantastic show, and it's dating. It's like a dating show for those with Down syndrome. And it's a fun, wholesome, uplifting show. There's also, of course, shows out there, and, I won't lie, I've watched a little bit of it here and there, and we watched a little bit of it here and there, is the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, breakdown of their whole trial. And, I know, it's a guilty pleasure, but when you watch it, you're like, okay, you got to make sure that, you can't watch 3 hours of that crap. Otherwise, it's going to be infiltrated into your thoughts in your mind come Monday. Even shows there's another show on Netflix called The Pharmacist, and it's a story about how this pharmacist, his son dies, basically his son gets tangled up in selling drugs or something like that, and this pharmacist decides to get some justice and revenge and figure out who was the killer. And during that whole process, he discovers that oh my god, there's so many kids coming in with these Oxycontin, and it's probably a good thing that I don't even know how to pronounce that, these Oxycontin prescriptions, and goes on an absolute vendetta against and takes down all of these institutions that are behind it. And so while that is a very uplifting story, and maybe perhaps one could get interested in it and into it, at the same time, do you really want to invest your life energy and guard your inputs? Do you want to have inject your mind with all these inputs about drugs and Oxycontin and all of this stuff, and really, do you really want to do that? And me and my Earth Angel, we started watching that for a little bit, and both okay, well, or at least I was oh man, I don't know if we want to actually invest 3 hours into injecting this into our mind. And it's just not that entertaining. There's more uplifting stuff out there. So let this be a reminder. I was just to guard your inputs and be aware of what you inject in your mind. Anyway, hope that provides some insight and actually gives you some ideas and serves as a good reminder as you build an independent life of writing, creating, thinking, and being an all-around badass. You need to preserve your mental energy. You need to preserve your life energy. You need to invest it very selectively. And more importantly, you also need to be very selective about what you allow into your mind. So that's it. That's the bottom line. I want to always remind you, as I'm pulling up to my office right now and about to crank and about to continue to take on and take over the world, one physical monthly newsletter at a time, one email at a time, one, just project at a time. You have to press on. You have to continue to be positive. And, let me be living proof. Like, you can freaking do this. I have been able to build a multiple 6-figure income stream based around and starting around the teeny tiny niche of analog Zettelkasten. And if I can do it, then you can do it. Just follow what I say. Let what I say sink in. And always remember to stay crispy, my friend. Peace.